Why does everyone go silent when Thomas Shelby walks into a room? It's not because he's the strongest man there, not because he's the loudest, and not even because he's the most violent. In fact, Thomas Shelby often does the exact opposite of what powerful men usually do. He speaks less, he shows less emotion, and somehow that makes him terrifying. But here's the strange part. Thomas Shelby's power has almost nothing to do with guns, money, or status. It comes from something psychological, something so powerful that real people use it every day to dominate rooms, relationships, and negotiations. And once you understand what that is, you'll never look at confidence the same way again. Thomas Shelby isn't feared because he's unpredictable. He's feared because he's impossible to read. And that creates psychological pressure. Most people reveal themselves constantly, through body language, through nervous talking, through emotional reactions. But Thomas, he gives you nothing. And that's dangerous, because the human brain hates uncertainty. When you can't read someone, your mind starts filling the gaps, and usually, it fills them with worst-case scenarios. That's exactly what Thomas weaponizes. But that's only the surface, because his real power goes much deeper. And it starts with something most people completely misunderstand: silence. Most people think silence is weakness, awkwardness, discomfort. Thomas Shelby understands the opposite. Silence creates tension, and tension creates control. Watch how he handles conversations. Someone threatens him, he doesn't react. Someone insults him, he doesn't defend himself. Someone tries to provoke him, he stays still. Why? Because emotional control is dominance. The person who reacts first loses, always. Thomas knows that if you control your emotions, you control the frame. And whoever controls the frame controls the interaction. But there's another layer, and this one is even more powerful. Thomas Shelby never seeks approval. That changes everything. Most people adjust themselves to be liked. Thomas doesn't. He says what he thinks. He leaves when he wants. He doesn't explain himself. And that creates something rare: authority. Because nothing is more intimidating than someone who doesn't need anything from you. Not validation, not permission, not acceptance. And this is where most people fail, because they think power is about forcing respect. Thomas understands something deeper. Respect is often born from restraint, not aggression. And there's one final reason everyone fears him, probably the most important one. But here's the thing: silence alone doesn't make someone powerful. Plenty of quiet people get ignored. So why does Thomas Shelby's silence feel heavy? Why does his presence feel dangerous before he even speaks? The answer has nothing to do with silence itself. It has to do with certainty. And once you understand this, you'll understand why people instantly feel power before a single word is spoken. Thomas Shelby is certain. That's what people feel. He doesn't hesitate, doesn't second guess, doesn't look for reassurance. Even when he's wrong, he moves like he's right. And certainty is magnetic, because most people live in doubt. When someone walks into a room carrying certainty, everyone feels it. And fear often comes from that contrast. Thomas Shelby represents something most people struggle to build: inner control. Not control over others, control over himself, his emotions, his reactions, his decisions. And when someone masters themselves, they become difficult to manipulate, difficult to intimidate, difficult to defeat. That's why people fear Thomas Shelby, not because he's violent, but because he's internally untouchable. And maybe that's the real lesson. Power isn't about being louder, more aggressive, or more dominant. Real power is staying calm when everyone else loses control, staying silent when everyone expects noise, and staying certain when everyone else is drowning in doubt. That's what makes Thomas Shelby dangerous. And if you learn that skill, people will feel your presence before you even speak.